Welcome to the Unapologetic with Janine McKinnon podcast, your go-to place for approachable conversations around sacred sexuality and conscious relationships. I'm your host, Janine McKinnon, certified trauma-informed sex, love, and relationship coach who's on a mission to support 1 million women and couples to experience deeper connection and more expansive pleasure inside and outside the bedroom. This is the space to go deep, to dive below surface level relationships and mess sex and explore the sacredness that sexuality and conscious relationships have to offer. Because deep connection, spiritual sexuality, full body orgasms, and transmuted sexual energy are available to everyone. And I'm here to serve the collective, to provide the knowledge, wisdom, and tools to access them. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful we're able to connect in this way, and I can't wait to dig into the contents of this episode with you. Without further ado, let's get into it. Hello and welcome to another Tuesday transmission episode inside the Unapologetic with Janine McKinnon podcast. And today I am excited to actually be switching it up a little bit, but also just to be getting into the content of this episode about the surprising ways that sexual empowerment elevates your life. This episode is really the big why, the big motivation I have between why I do what I do. I think there is a very good chunk of people that get into sacred sexuality for wanting to boost their libido, to have different kinds of orgasms, and then they get to see all of these incredible side effects that you get to experience through sexual empowerment. And then I'm actually a part of this other group who stumbled into this work really through looking for that personal transformation, through being able to build my confidence and nourish myself and show up as the better version of myself. And I really had no idea how big of an impact sacred sexuality has, sexual empowerment has on your whole life until I really began to experience it on a personal level. And it was such a big impact that, again, that's why I do what I do. Yes, it's great that people get to have better orgasms and experience better sex with their partners or through self-pleasure, but it's really magical being able to see women learn to speak for their wants and desires, not just inside the bedroom, but outside as well. To feel confident in their bodies, loving and accepting themselves for who they are now, the woman they are now, not 10, 20 plus years ago, but being able to really stand in this new, juicy, beautiful version of them, no matter what stage of aging they're in. Like, that's the magic. And there's so much more to it than that, which we are going to get into today. And so, as I mentioned, this is actually a replay of a previous episode. I'm switching it up. I am just coming out of the Women's Expo here in Victoria all weekend long. It was a great event. It was so incredible to meet so many people in person, seeing new and familiar faces, being supported by my Souk women in business community, as well as other women in business that I've connected with over the years, and to be able to present a talk again. So this was my second round of public speaking about sacred sensuality, and it's just such a gift to be able to have these conversations with other women and to receive that feedback of just really being able to shift their perspective and opening up to exactly what sacred sensuality is, because there can be a lot of misconceptions around Tantra, and it's this big, long, eye-gazing and crazy sex rituals. And sure, it can be that, but it is so much more than that. And so that's what I actually get into in my upcoming group program, Ignite. We have our opening ritual March 18th. I am so very excited. So if you've been curious, thinking about it, the clock is ticking. The bonuses end, I believe it's March 15th. So it's very, very soon. So it's getting time to make that decision if you want to jump in now and receive an extra coaching session. And I would love to have you in with us. The first half of the program is really about doing that inner work, which I talk about so much on this podcast, looking at our fears and the shame we hold and all of these different stories that have layered on over the years, and being able to work through all of that inner shit. And then the other half is being able to use more of those practical, tangible, holistic sex tools to really learn to amplify our pleasure, use pleasure as nourishment, and also be able to play around with using our sexual energy for manifestation through sex magic, which is one of my favorite practices. So it's an incredible program. It is loaded with so much support to really move you through something that is so deep and vulnerable. So an invitation for you to join us there. I will leave the link in the show notes, and I will stop rambling on so you can get into this week's episode, More Than Orgasms, 5 Surprising Ways Sexual Empowerment Elevates Your Life. It is so common, as I talk about frequently, amongst moms and women, especially like productive women who have really focused on their career, their family, their businesses, and things like that, to just leave their sexuality behind. It's not really part of them anymore, or it's something that's completely put on the back burner. And I think a big part of that is seeing sexuality as like not really worth it, and seeing it as something that is really those sexual experiences, having orgasms, but that being about it, or perhaps not even having those orgasms, that it's just not that great. So why is it worth it? And there's so much more to sexuality and embracing your sexuality than just those experiences. There is this wide array of side effects that you get to experience, which is why, for me, it is so worth it. Being sexually empowered is this beautiful portal of transformation to really embrace your whole self and be able to show up as the best version of you. And some may say there's other ways of doing it, which of course there's so many different ways to do all different things. But I, as I touch on frequently on this podcast, believe that the greatest transformation comes through the taboo. And sexuality is a huge taboo within our society. And so when we are able to use this portal of transformation, not only do we have these like very fulfilling, connected, beautiful, sacred sexual experiences, we also find ourselves with a booming confidence. Our boundaries strengthen, our presence expands, our playfulness increases, and our creativity flourishes. And all of these things that I'm going to be really digging into today are like the true reasons why, for me, that this work is so, so important. And like, yes, those sexual experiences are beautiful and amazing, but these other side effects that come from embracing your sexuality is what truly impacts your day-to-day on so many different levels. It impacts how you show up in the world, what kind of mom you are, what kind of partner you are, the way you pour your creativity and your passion into your work. All of these things are greatly impacted by the journey of embracing your sexuality. And so we are going to dig into all of that today. And before I do, I'm just going to quickly remind you that with it being March, my birthday month, at the time of recording this, my birthday is tomorrow. I am excited to be spending time with my family. We are actually going to be going crabbing for the first time here in Souk. Crabbing is like a very popular thing to do. There's always people out crabbing when we walk on the boardwalk, and we have been curious about this for years. We've been living here for about 5 years now. And so I finally said, like, this is it. This is the time. We are doing it. We bought our crab trap. I got my fishing license yesterday. I grew up on boats, lived on a sailboat for many years, and was always around like seafood and fishing and crabbing, but had limited participation in that as myself. I just often got to enjoy the spoils of it and have people gifting us crabs and fish. And so this is going to be the first time like truly getting right into it. And I'm very excited. It's kind of a funny way, I think, for some people to be spending their birthday, but I'm very excited. I'm going to be starting my day with some eggs Benny, which is kind of a tradition of mine. I've been doing that for, gosh, close to 20 years at this point. And so I will be doing that, getting layered up, getting some snacks packed, some yummy coffee in the thermos, and we're going to hang out at the boardwalk, crabbing and enjoying just a delicious feast afterwards. So that is what I'm doing for my birthday, probably more than I needed to share, but I'm super excited. And with all of that in mind, I will try and keep this quick since I went slightly off subject, but I want to spoil some of you for my birthday month. I have 3 one-on-one coaching spaces opening up to begin the end of March, beginning of April, as some of my containers are coming to an end. I did have 4. One of those has been snagged, so there is a limit of 3 women who can hop in, dive into this work on this deep, deep, supportive, transformational level with me. And those who do will just enjoy some extra spoiling from me, including an expanded welcome package. I always put something together for the ladies I work with, but this time I'm going to include some extras, like some Empress Mimi lingerie and some extra things for really titillating those senses and bringing them all online, which is a big part of the work I do. If you're interested in that, I will leave a link for a complimentary Catalyst call. We can chat, see what's going on, see what working together would look like, and move forward from there or not. But those that are ready to say, fuck yes, prioritize themselves, do this work with me as your support, your guide to really streamline this process and be able to fully awaken and enliven and work on all of your deep, deep desires together in a supportive way, will be able to receive this extra special package from me to just really support you on this journey to make you feel special for saying a yes to yourself. Okay, so now let's dig into the nitty-gritty of this episode. So those 5 surprising side effects of embracing your sexuality, I'll say them one more time, is a booming confidence, strengthened boundaries, expanded presence, increased playfulness, and flourishing creativity. So let's begin with that booming confidence. And this is what I find time and time again is the side effect that is most quickly brought on. I've definitely experienced this myself and noticed it firsthand with clients and peers as well. And so I've noticed this and known this to be true for many years at this point, in how there's this strong relationship between embracing your sexuality, doing different pleasure practices, and having this booming confidence. But it wasn't until recently when I was reading the Confidence Code. Don't think I have it around me right now, but it's the Confidence Code by Claire Shipman and Katie Kay, I believe is how you say her name. And a wonderful book, especially if you love digging into like the science of things. But they really broke down how serotonin plays a key role in confidence. There are studies that show that certain genes actually really affect people in regards to their serotonin. I can't remember the specifics, if it blocks serotonin receptors or if it limits their serotonin output. But overall, it makes it so these people don't have as much serotonin, and these people that have this particular gene often have low confidence and are displaying signs of anxiety and depression. They are less likely to take on new tasks. They hold themselves back in social situations. And so all of this has been studied within monkeys and then also in humans. I find it really, really interesting. And so what really stood out to me from this is like, okay, we now have scientific data that shows how tied serotonin is to confidence. Those with higher levels of serotonin tend to be a lot more confident, take risks, put themselves out there. And those with low serotonin tend to hold themselves back, have that low confidence, are more worried about different risks and things like this. And so it really got me thinking, oh, this is interesting because there is also science out there that shows how through pleasure, through orgasms, you produce a bunch of happy hormones, including dopamine, oxytocin, vasopressin, and serotonin. So therefore, through having a regular pleasure practice, through embracing your sexuality, you're pumping yourself full of all these good, happy hormones that affect you in so many beautiful ways. And you are getting that big boost of serotonin. You are becoming more and more confident from the inside out, from how your body physically works, as well as all of the mindset stuff that goes along with it. And so that is like that really sciencey, more physical, genetic stuff that really backs this up. And on that more mindset side, through embracing your sexuality, it builds this beautiful relationship with your body as you explore and get to know yourself. You learn to accept your body and embrace it, all that squishiness and all. You get to know what you like and what you don't like. You begin to learn how to communicate what you like, what you don't like, and really build experience within that realm. You learn how to accept and embrace your shadows, those different desires that you may have been more embarrassed or shameful about. And so all of these things really contribute to that booming confidence. It truly is this thing that just builds and builds and builds from that inside out. And it has this really big boom right at the beginning as you get those hormones pumping through your body. And then as all of these different mindset shifts slowly wake up, turn on, build that foundation, do those stepping stones one on top of each other, you find yourself not only empowered sexually, but feeling fucking confident in who you are, in your unapologetic authenticity. Because when you've learned to accept all of those different parts of yourself that you've really held yourself back, like who cares if someone makes a comment about them or if someone might think something? You've accepted them. It doesn't matter. And so that is how you can truly stand up in your unapologetic, confident authenticity, which leads us into those strengthened boundaries, which is another beautiful and such a powerful side effect of embracing your sexuality. So through this relationship with your body, like I just kind of touched on, you learn to really tune in to your yeses and nos. And so this begins with yourself. I always recommend for this journey to have that self-pleasure practice because it is this really beautiful, safe container where you can have more freedom and less self-consciousness in these different experiences, and then be able to translate them into partnered experiences. And partnered experiences and relationships is what really takes self-development work to this whole other level in being able to navigate things with another person and have these different things triggered and brought up and forcing you to deal with them in different ways and to push yourself to communicate those uncomfortable things, have those uncomfortable conversations. It really allows you to rise up in this whole other way that I just don't think you can by yourself. And so through this exploration, through this communication, the more you tap into that inner knowing, those yeses and those nos, you begin to hear them more. Then you begin to voice them more in those experiences. And this builds this like strengthened relationship with your body, with your intuition. And you'll notice those yeses and nos becoming louder and louder. Like you can really tap in to what those feel like in your body. And then this relates to yeses and nos in general. It's not just those sexual experiences. It also translates to, say, when someone asks something of you, you can feel like, oh, no, I don't want to do this. And so you begin to tap into this more and you're able to voice it more within your different relationships. Because what is so common amongst women is that we have overrode our yeses and nos for years, generally for decades, to please others, to not make waves, to be the to be the quiet one, and to keep everyone else happy. And so in doing all of this, being that yes girl, being that people pleaser, we really quiet down those yeses and nos. We override them so much that we become completely numbed out to them. And that's why we begin to take on so many things, overload ourselves, become overwhelmed, become resentful, and all these different things that come from that. And so through embracing your sexuality, through building that relationship with your body, through really learning those yeses and those nos, being able to hear them, being able to voice them, all of a sudden, you are so strong in your boundaries. You feel confident voicing yourself for different things that come up. And again, that confidence really plays into this as well. So you understand those signals your body is sending you. You have confidence to say whatever you need to say and to uphold those boundaries. You don't become so faltering that when something comes up, you just kind of slide off to the way again, go back to overriding yourself and doing the thing and letting things go on just as they were before. No, you hear yourself so much more. Those signals are like this beacon of guiding light for your life now. And you take action on them time and time again. When things start to slide off track, you notice it so much faster, and you can put those different actions in place to keep you on track, to maintain those boundaries. And things really begin to shift when this happens. Your relationships begin to strengthen because you feel more supported. That's generally an area that we often need to put up those boundaries. And no, we're not going to keep doing this. Yes, I need your help in these things. Please help. Please provide more support. And it goes into all different areas of your life, but it supports you in having these more connected relationships and really being in charge of your energy and managing those different energy leaks where you would just override yourself and let your energy flow to all of these different places. And so it's energizing for you. And there's so much that comes from this, but I think you've got a good picture of how embracing your sexuality really supports you in having those strong boundaries and the impact that has throughout your life and how you lead yourself for your kids and how they see how important it is to voice these things for yourself, to behave in this way, and it really sets them up for success in their life as well. So number 3 is that your presence expands. Embracing your sexuality, it means that you learn to surrender into pleasure. And to be able to surrender into pleasure, you need to be able to receive, to be able to get out of your head and into your body, to be able to be into your experience, into your sensations. So it requires this immense amount of presence, of mindfulness. And this is a skill that is learned. And the more you practice it, the more skillful you become at it. And the skill translates into all different areas of your life. Not only are you able to be super present in your sexual experiences, not be thinking about the to-do list, not be thinking about all of those different self-conscious thoughts, you're able to tap in to fully feel the experience and the different pleasure expanding throughout you. You are also able to be out in nature, just truly relishing in the beauty that is Mother Earth and everything that is around us. You are able to drop into your partner. You can more easily surrender into their advances, switch into some different playfulness, which we'll dig into a bit more. Even amongst a busy day to day, you're able to enjoy more of those simple, beautiful moments with your kids because you learn how to shift and go back and forth between that busy go, go, go mode, because yes, that is the world we live in. It's going to be very hard to completely get rid of that. That is just a part of society. But when you have this expanded presence, when you have these different boundaries that begin to take things off of your plate, begin to shift your support, begin to shift your lifestyle, you are also able to shift more easily between the to-do list, the things that need to get done, the errands, into that expanded presence. Being able to drop down and have fun with your kids, even if you're about to cook dinner or even if you're in the middle of something, you are able to just really see them and not have that triggered stress response, whatever that may look like. I think all moms have been there in different situations, but you're able to really see them and meet them and enjoy those special little moments, because so many of us, and I have been there myself in those early years, are so caught up in that stress that we miss out on so much of it. I won't say all of it, because there's definitely times and places we're able to drop into it, but we miss out on so much of it when we don't have that presence, when we don't have that calm nervous system. And so embracing your sexuality is a beautiful pathway for creating transformation in this way. It's actually, I'd say, this particular side effect of that expanded presence is one of my most favorite side effects of doing this work, of embracing your sexuality, because it brings the beauty back to life. It is really that game changer between living the day-to-day, being caught up in the busyness, going through the motions, to really enjoying all of those special moments. Being able to have those smooth mornings where you are having fun with your kids, being playful, and still getting out of the door on time in this loving, fun way without all of this stress and yelling and deadline pressure and all of these things. You're just able to be present throughout it. And isn't that such a beautiful gift to give not only yourself, but your family as well? And I think you can just imagine the true ripple effect of this, how it affects every facet of your life. And life is so much more than achievements and ticking things off boxes and doing the things we're supposed to do. Life is really all of those special in-between moments. It's how you feel when you drink your coffee with your partner in the morning. It's how you greet each other when you reunite towards the end of the day. It's how you spend your meals together. It's how you spend those different walks or those fun random tickle fights and things like that. That's what life is really about. And through embracing your sexuality, through expanding your presence, you are able to do all of this. And it's so beautiful. And so that really easily shifts me into number 4. There's a lot of overlap with what I just touched on, in that your playfulness increases. Because you have this expanded presence, you are able to let your playfulness out to play a lot more, because through this, you are able to manage your nervous system a little bit more, especially through the way I approach this work and the way I support clients. There is a lot of nervous system regulation, which really allows you to come from this more calm, grounded place. And so when you do this, you have kind of your walls are crumbled down and you're able to be more playful. So throughout our lifetime, from very early on in childhood, we begin to build these walls up, and they tend to make it so we are safe in how we show up in the world. And they also make us more stiff and rigid. We don't allow these other parts of ourselves to be seen, because that's vulnerable, because that's how different people make comments or different things happen to us when we behave that way. So we put these walls up so we don't allow this playfulness to shine anymore, and that's what keeps us safe, and that's what allows us to do the things we need to do to achieve in life and do all of these different things, and it squashes our playfulness. And so when we are able to allow these walls to crumble down, we begin to get more in touch with our inner child. We're able to allow this playfulness to come out a little bit more. You may find yourself hopping along rocks with your kids instead of just walking beside them as they have fun. You might be like, hey, that looks fun. I'm going to jump in with them too. And the way you hear them laughing as you join in instead of just kind of being alongside is so magical. And touching on to like those tickle fights that I just mentioned, or whatever that may look like for you, like those are those fun, playful moments that are what really makes life special. And it can be really hard to access those when you are stressed out and busy all the time and feeling completely shut down to your sexuality, to all of these different parts of yourself. So using that portal of transformation, expanding that presence and being able to really tap into your playfulness, see these different benefits of it seeping out, be able to increase that playfulness more and more and more, you bring so much more fun back into your life. And if that's not worth it, I don't know what is. And then that shifts us into the final 5 surprising side effect of embracing your sexuality, is that your creativity flourishes. And I find that this one tends to be the most surprising one out of this entire list, because sure, the like confidence, that makes sense. So does the presence and that mindfulness piece, but like creativity, what does that have to do with it? And that is because your sexual energy, your sexual center, is also your creative energy. It is how you create life. It is truly that creation life force, and they are very tied together. It's the same chakra. And so when you begin to allow these blockages to shift, to move, and to be really balanced within this energy center, your creativity unlocks. And what I found for myself with different women I've spoken with and helped with and all the things is it comes like out of nowhere. It's like you're doing this work, you're chugging along, doing these things. You begin to notice all of these different side effects. And then bam, out of nowhere, you find yourself just doing all these different creative projects that you haven't done since you were a kid. And this is different for everyone because we each have our own creative flair, but this could be like you find yourself wanting to make art again. Maybe you're right in there with your kids doing all these different crafts on a different level than you've done before. Or perhaps it means you're singing and you're dancing all over the place. It supports you in bringing more beauty into your home by allowing this creativity to just create this beautiful space for you to all be present and connected together. You could get more creative with how you dress. I'm sure if you've been following me for a while, you know how I think how you dress is such an important piece of who you are, how you show up in the world, and it's really how you let your creative self-expression shine through this sacred devotion of self-love to yourself. And so this creativity can also flow into so many different areas, photography, the list goes on and on. You are able to bring that passion, that creativity into your business ventures, those different ideas that you may have on the back burner, or different projects for work or whatever it might be, different fun vacations, and really being able to let your creativity flow and not just that analytical controlling side. It's that creative flow. And it is just so much fun to be able to play with. And like I said, it comes out of nowhere and it's just beautiful. It, again, I guess it ties into that playfulness, but it's that creativity that just creates so much beauty in your life. I think it's what brings that art and beauty back into your life. And I often think about all of those beautiful cathedrals and architecture and different sculptures and pieces of art that we have all of these evidence of. And I think of, wow, what might society have looked like to hold beauty and creativity in such high regard compared to our current society that really holds productivity and achievements in doing in high regard, and the beauty is really crumbling away. Like, look at what our cities look like. Look at what our buildings, our schools, all of these things look like. Like, beauty and art, artistic expression has just completely fallen to the wayside. And I think it's very in line with how our mental health, our connection to each other, our connection to the earth is completely askew as a people, as a community, as a society. And so being able to tap back into this creativity, I think allows us to tap back into our humanity and really bring color back into life. And so these are those 5 surprising side effects of embracing your sexuality. And I don't want to leave you hanging there. I want to give you some practical tools of how you can get started with this on your own. And of course, I'm here if you want more support. I love supporting women in this. And I want everyone listening, no matter where you are on your journey, to begin to tap into this in your own way. And I'm here for any questions. I would love to hear your thoughts on the episode so far. Please feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram at Janine.McKinnon or send me an email. And of course, I'm really working at spreading the word and getting this message out there to many women, raising the vibration of the collective. I would so appreciate if you could go ahead and give me a review or a rating to help us reach more women in hearing this. And so let's get into these practical nitty-gritty steps. So I'd say starting out at the beginning of this journey, doing shadow work is so important. I've touched on previous episodes and in the Nourish Through Pleasure program that I have. And through shadow work, we are able to really break down all of our different belief systems that have been programmed into us from the moment we're born. And so we absorb all of our surroundings, we absorb everything that is said around us, not necessarily said to us, but what people are saying about other people, the different messages that we see in media, all different things, as well as our own lived experiences. And so this all leaves this imprint, and it really affects how we feel about sexuality. It decides for us. And so being able to go through shadow work allows us to really put it all out on the table. Okay, this makes sense why I feel this way. Okay, what do I want to pick and choose? What feels aligned to me rather than what's being programmed into me? And being able to decide for you what you want your sexuality to be. And so I actually have a free workbook available. I will link it in the show notes for you. And you can go through and just do it with some journaling as well. But that free download is there for you if you would like some extra support. And so that next step of it is really thinking about, what does the sexually empowered version of me look like? What does she feel like? And so She's going to look different for everyone because we're obviously all different. For some people, she might be a lot more outward, speaking openly, perhaps dressing provocatively because that's how she feels empowered. And for others, it could be a lot more inward. It could be having fun reading some more spicy novels, really having that playfulness, that sexy time with their partner, but keeping it a little bit more private. And there is no right or wrong. It's just what's right for you. And so a few of the main questions I go through with all of my clients when we're doing our initial desire mapping that I think are very important to ask yourself, for everyone to really think about when it comes to any version of them they are working towards becoming through their different goals and ambitions. And so that is, who is this version of you? How does she hold herself? How does she dress? How does she communicate? How does she make decisions? How does she love? How does she fuck? How does she treat herself? What kinds of things does she do? What kind of supports does she have in place? And so it can be really incredible after digging into all of this, whether it's through conversation, through journaling, to bring this into a five senses reality, to get into that meditative state so you can truly feel yourself as this version of you, soaking in the sights, the feelings, the sounds, the smells, the tastes, and really embody yourself as this version of you, because that ties so much into manifestation and really becoming that vibrational match for that which you want to attract. And it's super powerful to do in so many ways. And if you are really wanting to create safety in becoming this version of you and really rewiring your nervous system and your subconscious to feel safe embodying this more and more, doing that five senses reality is incredibly helpful. I do have a meditation available within the unapologetic practices. If you are interested, I will also try and link that. And it can be something you do on your own. Just think of those five senses and really bring yourself to feel all of those after you ask yourself those questions and get really clear on what this version of you is. Now, the third thing, which I think actually ties in quite well with what I just went over, is to have a regular pleasure practice, to have a regular dedicated date night with yourself. And again, pleasure is not only sexual pleasure. Pleasure is a massive range and can be as simple as really enjoying that morning coffee or tea, holding it close to your chest, feeling the warmth of it, smelling the deliciousness of it, really tasting it, really soaking in everything that is around you. This can also be having a warm bath, smelling essential oils, putting lotion on in a slow, sensual, pleasurable way, giving yourself a hand or a face massage. Highly recommend. I recommend it all the time because it is so nourishing. Like, talk about self-care. Sure, you can put on a face mask, whatever it might be, but giving yourself a real deep, luscious face massage or hand massage, way more in depth on the face massage than gua sha, like truly that pleasurable in there. So nourishing. That is the kind of things that really fills your cup up from the inside out. Then you can up the ante towards that more sexual pleasure with caressing your legs, your arms, or your face, moving your fingers through your hair, and then slowly moving up your comfort level to more sexual pleasure. Depending where you are on your journey, this is going to look different for everyone, but that's really that slow build up for it. And the important thing is to do this slowly, to build that connection with your body, to expand your capacity for your pleasure in really being present with it. and taking all of those racing thoughts, everything going on in your mind, and bringing it into the body. I do have some very juicy guided practices and meditations. There is a range. I will be coming up with a non-sexual resourcing and goodness meditation that just kind of starts with the touching your arms and things, which is great. And I have a really fun, juicy 5 senses pleasure practice, really awakening up all of your pleasure centers, all of the different areas of your brain, and really becoming alive and using your pleasure as nourishment. So starting out doing these 3 different things is an incredible foundation for embracing your sexuality and beginning to notice some of these surprising side effects. So that is where I will leave you at for today. Thank you for being along at this conversation with me. Again, I'd love to hear from you. Please shoot me a message or send me an email letting me know what you thought of today's episode. And I would be so grateful if you could please leave a rating or a review to help show Spotify or iTunes, wherever you're listening to this, to show this podcast to more women to be able to hear this message and become empowered in their sexuality as well. Thank you again. Wishing you just a wonderful, beautiful week ahead. Thank you for joining us inside the Unapologetic with Janine McKinnon podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you feel called, I would so appreciate it if you left us a review to help us reach more women and couples so they can experience deeper connection and more expansive pleasure inside and outside the bedroom too. Until next time, embrace your desire and experience your magic.